All right, section 3, number 1, solve each exponential equation and check your answers. So in these problems, since we're solving, we're trying to get x by itself. And to do that, right, if you look at number 1, I have an x cubed term in there. I'm going to isolate that x cubed as best I can. So we're just going to do normal algebraic steps here to get that by itself. We're going to add 6 to both sides. We're going to get 0.5 x cubed equals 108. And we're going to divide by 0.5. So now we're going to get x cubed equals 216. And then once we have that isolated, we have an x cubed, so we want to do the inverse operation of cubing something, or raising it to the 3, which is taking a cubed root. So I'm going to take a cube root of the left and a cube root of the right. And so this is going to get rid of it. I'm going to have just x by itself equals the cube root of 216, which equals, now I have to evaluate that, and I have to think about, okay, what to the third power is 216? Or what times what times what is 216? Which in this case is 6. So I have x equals 6. Now you can go ahead and, I'm not going to actually go through checking the answer, but you can check the answer by just plugging it back in there and making sure that this equation works, and it does. So 6 is your answer. All right, number 2, part B. We're taking this right here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. All right, part B. We have 2 plus x, and that's squared equals 36. Right off the bat, because I basically already have this squared term isolated, right? I have something on the left-hand side, and that whole thing is being raised to the 2. So immediately, I can do that inverse operation and just take a square root of this whole thing. Because I know if I take a square root of something that's already squared, I'm going to get rid of everything else, and I'm going to get what's left inside, which is that 2 plus x. Of course, I want to make sure I do that same thing to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to take a square root of 36 on the other side. Now we have to remember that a square root of 36, when we evaluate, there is actually 2 different roots there, right? Ask myself the question, what squared is 36? Well, 6 is, but also negative 6 is. So I have 2 plus x equals plus or minus here 6. And I'm still going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract here. I'm going to get x equals plus or minus 6, but then minus 2 here. So in this problem, there are going to be 2 different answers, 2 different branches. One of them is going to be positive 6 minus 2, and the other one's going to be negative 6 minus 2. So I'm going to have 4 as an answer, and I'm going to have negative 8 as an answer. Now if you go back and we check our answers, you can check both of those. You can plug in 4 into the original equation, and let's just kind of do this mentally. So I have 2 plus 4, right? 2 plus 4, and there is 6, and if I square that, I do get 36, and that should work just fine. But I also have negative 8. So if I go back up to my problem and check that, negative 8, 2 plus negative 8 is negative 6, and if I square that, I also get positive 36. So both of these answers are indeed correct. All right, part C. Again, we're going to take x minus 3. Basically, this is the power we're going to isolate. So we have to do 2 steps to get that to be by itself. We're going to add 100. So we're going to have 512 on the right-hand side equals 2 times x minus 3 cubed. Keep going on that. I'm going to divide by 2. So I'm going to have x minus 3 to the fourth equals 256. Now I have it isolated, so now I can do the fourth root of both sides. The fourth root on the left and the fourth root on the right. So on the left, that's just going to give me the x minus 3, because those will cancel. And then on the right here, I'm going to have plus or minus, because I have an even numbered root, and this argument inside is a positive number, so I should have plus. There should be two answers, plus or minus. So that's plus or minus 4. So positive 4 to the fourth is 256, and so is negative 4 to the fourth is 256. So we have that. Solve for x. So I'm going to have x equals plus or minus 4, and I'm going to add that 3 to the other side now. And again, this is going to give me two answers. One of those answers is plus 4 plus 3, which is 7. And the other possibility is negative 4 plus 3, which equals negative 1. If we go back to think about if these are correct or not, we can check those. We have 7 and negative 1. So you can plug those back into your equation and you can check it. And you'll find that they both are going to work. D, I'm trying to get x cubed by itself. And in fact, I have some like terms here right off the bat, right? 18 plus 7. So I'm going to say that's 25 plus 3x cubed equals 1. I'm going to subtract off. We're going to subtract 25 on both sides. We're going to have 3x cubed equals negative 24. We're going to divide by 3 to get that x cubed by itself. So we'll get x cubed equals negative 8. Now that we have it by itself, we can take a cube root of both sides. And we'll have x equals the cube root of negative 8. So we got to think about what times what is negative 8, or what cubed is negative 8. And there's only one answer there, not plus or minus, just negative 2 is our answer. So that is the answer for D.